Okay, thank you, and welcome back. So we'll continue with the discussions. And let's see. Okay, did Brazil still have an intervention?
Boa tarde, Sr. Presidente.
Thank you, Chair. Like many countries, Brazil has already started implementing SWIM, but we still feel it's very important for there to be a framework for exchange of information. Therefore, Brazil supports WPs 4, 73, and 106 from Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. South Africa?
Thank you, Chairperson. South Africa would like to make an intervention on 2 working papers, the first of which is working paper number 4 and the second 106. South Africa commends the Secretariat on the presentation of working paper 4, and with regards to the recommendation A, South Africa supports this recommendation. Specifically, with regards to recommendation B, South Africa supports that ICAO forges ahead with the work regarding the development of provisions related to SWIM. However, the effects of cyber-related disruptions must be adequately mitigated in any model for automation before automation is effected. With regards to the recommendation C, South Africa supports and takes cognizance that there must be an integration of issues that exist between the various suppliers of AIXM databases that needs to be highlighted. Although these databases are built on the same standard, some systems are still not able to exchange information automatically without additional manual interventions. Although AIXM is only just one exchange model under the bigger ATM information reference model, the requirements for AIXM data exchanges between ANSPs on global level needs to be addressed. My next intervention, Chairperson, would be on working paper 106. South Africa supports this working paper presented by Kenya. An example specifically highlighted by the Kenyan working paper 106 within the ambit of paragraph 2.7 is indicative of a need for systems integration, which is what the South African working paper 291 conceptualizes. Thank you.
Thank you, South Africa. United Arab Emirates?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We see lots of interesting and beneficial contents in the working papers. We would like to thank the Secretariat and the states for presenting the working papers. A common request amongst all the working papers is the provision or the request for provisions or SARPs related to SWIM. As quite rightly said by Greece, and thank you, Greece, for reading our information paper, that we have successfully implemented SWIM, the first SWIM gateway on the 25th of September. This implementation has not been easy. It required lots of collaboration and stakeholders engagement. So with regards to the request stated by Singapore, we support the request to provide at least guidance material, since the SARP's provisions may take longer time to develop. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thailand?
Thank you, Chairman. Thailand, in general, like to support the working paper 4 presented by the Secretariat. Particularly, we welcome the ideas of interconnected SWIM registries. However, we are in the view that the scope of interconnections among registries require further considerations and should be well defined. Additionally, considering the amendment of Annex 3, specifically a standard regarding the disseminations of information in IWXM format, in turn requiring the implementations of AMHS that will be applicable in 2020, we would like to request ICAO to better harmonize the ICAO's Annex Amendment and the implementation plan for initiative to prevent the negative impact and slow implementation progress on such important enabler like SWIM. Especially the period of the foreseen parallel operations of AFTN, AMHS, and IPS should be kept at minimum, as it affects not only the operating and maintaining costs, but also the business case of SWIM, which, when compared, bring the better operational efficiencies to the ATM community as a whole. Thailand also welcomed Working Paper 73 presented by United States, particularly the recommendations in para 3.2a regarding the concept of global SWIM framework. And moreover, we see the extreme importance of cyber resilience in SWIM in environment, and happy to continue to contribute in developing a trust framework together. In addition, we fully support Singapore's interventions regarding the need for implementations guidelines to ensure the global interoperability. Thank you.
Thank you. I invite India to come in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. India supports the Working Paper 4 presented by Secretariat. However, noting the concerns raised by Republic of Korea in Working Paper 236 on the disharmonious development of information exchange models, and also the issues raised by Australia in Working Paper 75, we suggest suitably amending the recommendations of Working Paper 4 to reflect the need for global coordination. In this respect, India supports the recommendations of Working Paper 73 presented by United States, which calls for developing a global SWIM framework in a harmonious way. Thank you.
Thank you, India. Sudan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sudan would like to support Working Paper 73 presented by United States of America. And please, Mr. Chairman, allow me to extend my thanks and appreciation to the United States for the great effort being done on this working paper that globalized harmonization of air traffic management system beyond borders of single region. Thank you.
Thank you. Rwanda.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. Rwanda supports Working Paper 73 with special attention to 3.2b, as we believe this method is a proper process toward guaranteeing a strong foundation in this initiative. We also believe the concept of SWIM framework will enable, as stated in the executive summary, interoperable exchange of information. And to echo the previous speaker, of guidelines as additional recommendation may better enhance the further progress of the SWIM program. We also commend Kenya for Working Paper 106 with regard to 3.3c. This paper well presents the position of Kenya and its neighboring countries, and advise that emphasis be put in this recommendation set forth in the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Rwanda. Austria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Austria would like to support Working Paper 14 by the Working Paper 4 by the Secretariat. We also acknowledge the work of the United Arab Emirates as described in Working Paper 263. And therefore we also consider that we have gone from concept phase already to implementation in a largely scale. And therefore we support the change proposals as made by Greece and clearly pointed out to ABC. Thank you.
Thank you, Austria. And New Zealand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With reference to Recommendation A of Working Paper 70, we appreciate the concern expressed by Portugal, and we do apologise for the confusion. The intent of the recommendation is to support the development of standards to promote interoperability and harmonisation. We propose to provide the Secretariat with an amended Recommendation A of Paper 70 by removing the words minimum essential. The recommendation would then read that the conference request ICAO to commit to the development and promulgation of standards for international operability with the aim of ensuring that systems have acceptable performance standards for communications security, definition of data content, access control, and obtaining and updating of data. Thank you.
Thank you, New Zealand. Oman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oman notes working paper 70 presented by New Zealand and the information paper 263 prepared by United Arab Emirates as examples of SWIM implementation that states can benefit from. Oman also supports working paper 73 presented by United States and working paper 106 presented by Kenya. We believe that addressing interoperability challenges and developing robust standards will encourage and help states in applying and implementing SWIM. Thank you.
Thank you, Oman. If there are no further comments, we'll just take a few minutes to agree on the notes. Yeah, we'll just take a clarification from the Secretary.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. The Secretary would like just to thank all the states for the comments that we took notes of all of them when we consider in the final report, and also to highlight that we took note of the proposal for amendments made by Greece, Iceland, and New Zealand to the recommendations as proposed, and we also consider all of them in the final draft, not the final, but the draft reports to be delivered after the end of agenda item 3, probably by tomorrow. So just to highlight that because we have several different proposals, we're going to put all the proposals together and derive a final recommendation for you to analyze later. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. After the clarification by the Secretariat, we would like to provide the summary of the discussion. The committee noted broad support for ongoing and planned work of ICAO contained in the working paper of the Secretariat and supported by the other papers discussed under this sub-agenda item. The committee identified the need for provisions related to the harmonization of information exchange models and globally interconnected registries, which should be developed by a specific panel of experts. the committee recognized the need for provisions related to defining a SWIM-compliant implementation toolbox, including a template for basic SWIM information services and a SWIM registry, also to be developed by a specific panel of experts. The committee expressed support for including secure by design principles into SWIM developments. The committee recognized the need for collaboration with states and industry to promote regional events on SWIM global concepts and principles to ensure the interoperability of systems and harmonization of procedures among members of the aviation community. Is there any comment on the summary? Okay, thank you. If we are happy with the summary, we would like to continue with batch number 2. The batch number 2 include working papers 85, 98, and 107. I'd like to invite Brazil to present working paper 85.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. David Medeiros on behalf of Brazil, Brazilian Air Force, and Department of Space Control, Work Paper 85. Considering that Department of Space Control held a first system-wide information management demonstration during the second workshop on cybersecurity for communication, navigation, and surveillance and SWIM in November 2017, where Department of Space Control simulated in a practical way the service-oriented architecture on which SWIM is based, showing us in this event the benefits that can come from its adoption, and that a close cooperation among many stakeholders is a key factor for the stable implementation of SWIM, and that the Global Navigation Plan, GAMP, states that SWIM is an essential enabler for ATM application. We see as ATS authorities, the main ATS authority in Brazil, that regional demonstrations could be part of the planning and implementation regional groups, PIGs, projects, because we would be useful to carry out PIG's purpose, to update the regional implementation plans in support of the national SWIM plans. Having said that, we kindly invite the conference, this meeting, all of you, to consider the Brazilian experience point out and described in the item 2.8 of this work paper, and in the need of ICAO regional offices to support the realization of SWIM demonstration as written in the paragraph 3.3 in complement to the ongoing SWIM development described in the work paper 4. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brazil. Invite the UAE to present working paper 98.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This paper presents the importance and some of the benefits of SWIM architecture and promotes ICAO's strategy for a more integrated aviation planning at both the state and regional level. The introduction of SWIM typically comes along with the harmonization of data such as AIXM, FIXM, and WXXM, and ensures through standardization of format that different stakeholders are able to interface without major integration efforts. Transferring the concept of common information accessible with different views to stakeholders is the core idea of the SWIM architecture, while at the same time protecting stakeholders and the safeguarding sensitive information. The SWIM architecture serves as an enabler of numerous potential applications, many of which are identified in the GAMP. The conference is invited to encourage states to develop SWIM national implementation plans in alignment with regional strategies and priorities, encourage states to implement and enhance in close collaboration with their stakeholders' swim platforms. Request ICAO to consider an update to the GAMP provisions to include progressive swim national implementation plans in alignment with regional strategies and priorities. Request ICAO state and international organizations to promote, plan, implement global swim demonstration activities with various stakeholders. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you to the UAE. The next paper is Working Paper 107 by the International Federation of Aeronautical Information Management Associations. IFEMA is not here, and the representatives are not here to present the paper. The conclusions presented in the paper, the conference is invited to urge ICAO to provide assistance to states with the implementation of the 16th edition of Annex 15 and the first editions of the PANS AIM, and urge ICAO to continue efforts to improve AIM requirements with emphasis on facilitating a seamless integration of the aeronautical information domain with other information domains within SWIM. I'd just like a show of support from states so that this paper will be considered part of the discussions. Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite the Secretary to provide any clarifications before we open the floor for discussions. Okay, thank you. So there's no clarification from the Secretary. And the floor is open for discussion on batch number 2, working papers 85, 98, and 107. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Australia supports working paper 85 from Brazil. In relation to working paper 98, we support the thrust of the recommendations, but we would like to suggest a slight change to recommendation 3.1a. Our concern is that if we have a national implementation plan for every aspect of the GAMP, we'll end up with about 50 national implementation plans. So can I suggest the following words be considered: encourage states to include SWIM as part of their national air navigation plans. That would be my suggestion. And in relation to working paper 107, there's a reference there to, in action A, urging in relation to a particular edition of the annex. I think we would just keep that at Annex 15 without referring to which edition it is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Australia. Oman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oman would like to support the working paper 98 presented by United Arab Emirates. Thank you.
Thank you. Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Slovenia supports the working paper 107 of IFEMA, although not presented here. However, we have a comment. Recognizing that with Europe, work has been initiated to support the implementation of IAM. Such action is welcomed also in other regions. The focus should be given to ensure effective implementation before further developing IAM working arrangement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Slovenia. Uruguay.
Thank you, sir. Undoubtedly, SWIM implementation will involve a major effort and investment of resources among all the stakeholders, whether it's human, technological, or financial. We support the development of regional demonstrations for SWIM as a tool for bolstering cooperation among countries of the region and strengthening implementation measures for national plans. At the same time, it's important to boost regional awareness-raising activities and training activities for a robust system which is completely interoperable and harmonized. Uruguay supports Working Paper 4 from the Secretariat and Working Paper 85 from Brazil. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. IATA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. IATA supports Working Paper 98 and also supports Working Paper 85 as demonstrations are important activities to learn and promote the use of SWIM. IATA would like to suggest that, when demonstrations are planned, to include airspace users since they are part of the system. Thank you.
Thank you, IATA. Germany.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's very much in line with the speakers before. We first of all like to support WP 98 from the United Arab Emirates. Quite in line with the recommendations, we are keen to share our results and lessons learned with the rest of the globe. On the same understanding, we are pleased to provide our continued support through respective experts in ICAO's information management panel, and I'd like to inform the committee on the new published European SWIM standards being freely available. I also like to give support to the paper from Brazil, number 85. Regional initiatives are more than welcome to make SWIM a global reality. And also I like to give my appreciation to the offer from IATA just before me. Thank you.
Thank you, Germany. Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council would like to thank the United Arab Emirates for this extensive working paper on the future of SWIM. Council fully agrees that the advanced collaborative decision-making processes that require all involved stakeholders to have access to common high-quality information are a cornerstone for the future. Council fully supports the actions as mentioned in paragraph 3.1 and is ready, together with its members, to assist national, regional and global level wherever we can. Further, Council would like to fully support Working Paper 107 and presented by IFEMA and Working Paper 85 by Brazil. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Colombia.
Gracias, señor. Thank you, sir. Colombia supports the working paper from Brazil as well as the UAE working paper. We thank those two states for the work they've performed. We would also like to say that we agree with the previous statement, I think, by Australia with regard to not having a plan for every single issue. We believe it's appropriate for the national plan to bring together all of these initiatives with a single, robust national plan aligned regionally and globally with the GAMP, thereby pooling efforts and being able to implement national plans properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more interventions? Okay, I see Bangladesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We support fully the Working Paper 107. We'd also urge ICAO to consider the updating of the roadmap for EIS to AM, which is due for quite some time. As a state, we are struggling for the transition from EIS to AM. The roadmap update would be a definitely beneficial attempt from ICAO to guide us into the next item. Thank you.
Thank you, Bangladesh. Any more interventions? Okay, thank you. So we'll just prepare the notes for the section. Thanks. Okay, thank you. I will now summarize the discussion on batch 2, working papers 85, 98, and 107. The committee recognized the need for states to showcase the operational and economic benefits of SWIM through regional SWIM demonstrations by leveraging the PERGS process. The committee also noted the importance of aligning their national plans with regional strategies and the Global Air Navigation Plan that would also consider SWIM. The committee agreed that ICAO should provide assistance to states with the implementation of Annex 15 provisions and the new PANS AIM, including an updated AIS AIM roadmap. The committee recognized that advanced CDM and other applications require quality information. If there are no comments, thank you, and that concludes agenda item 3.1, system-wide information management. Sub-item 3.2, flight and flow information for collaborative environment and trajectory-based operations. These subjects will deal in one batch of 6 working papers as they all speak to the need for a global concept, transitional roadmap, ICAO provisions, and guidance on trajectory-based operations and its key enablers. It is now 4:42, and we want to ask if you would prefer to have just the papers presented this afternoon and continue discussions tomorrow, or?
I see some notes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Right, so we'll just simply have the papers presented this afternoon, and then we'll have discussions tomorrow. So the order of papers will be working paper number 7, then 52, 38, 87, 271, and 191.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Working paper 7 outlines the ongoing efforts and planned work of ICAO concerning the development of a global concept and necessary ICAO provisions to support an evolutionary transformation into a trajectory-based operations TBO environment, which is one of the key conceptual changes envisaged in the global air traffic management operational concept. To ensure such a transformation occurs in a consistent, harmonized, and an integrated manner, the global ATM community needs a common reference and framework that will guide development and implementation of individual but interrelated capabilities and processes integral to TBO. ICAO has been developing a global TBO concept describing an ATM environment where a flown flight path is as close as possible to the user-preferred one by reducing potential conflicts and resolving demand and capacity imbalances early and efficiently. The next step will be to identify and address multidisciplinary issues, some of which are listed in the working paper 7, in order to ensure for TBO to deliver anticipated performance benefits. The paper also reports progress on the development of ICAO provisions to support the implementation of flight and flow information for a collaborative environment, FFIs. It also highlights the need for mixed mode operations and a robust transition strategy to minimize potential negative impacts during the mixed mode operations. The proposed recommendations are as outlined in paragraph 3. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you to the Secretariat. Now invite the United States to present Working Paper 52.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am pleased to present this paper on behalf of the United States of America. Trajectory-based operations is defined by ICAO as a concept enabling globally consistent, performance-based, four-dimensional trajectory management by sharing and maintaining trajectory information, which will enhance planning and execution of efficient flights, reducing potential conflicts, improving predictability, and resolving network and system demand capacity imbalances early. The Federal Aviation Administration is incrementally transitioning the United States domestic national airspace system from the legacy of static, distance-based separation to a more strategic time-based management system through TBO. Together, time-based management and performance-based navigation contribute to a 4D trajectory, that is latitude, longitude, altitude, and time, that airspace users negotiate with the air navigation service providers in identifying a solution that best accommodates both their needs. While domestic implementation of TBO is already underway in some states, the full benefits of TBO will not be fully realized unless it is interconnected through a globally harmonized and holistic system. Such a system must establish the rules for securely sharing information across borders, allow efficient implementation in a mixed-use and flexible environment, and be cost-beneficial. TBO is envisioned to be attained through the culmination of multiple modernization efforts outlined in the ASBUs. It consolidates understanding across multiple ATM operational concept components during tactical planning and flight operations by synchronizing a common view of an optimized trajectory. By utilizing key enablers, TBO synchronizes trajectory and constraints between all involved ATM stakeholders. These stakeholders increase their awareness, enabling them to better anticipate the events that may affect them. As continuous synchronization is impossible due to the limitations of available communications budgets and bandwidth, the sharing, updating, and coordinating of trajectory changes has to be sufficiently frequent to serve the reliability needs of the various ATM components. A key enabler for TBO is the sharing of flight and flow information from pre-departure negotiation to taxi time to arrival gate on a globally supported SWIM system. This information is part of flight and flow information for a collaborative environment, which delivers flight information sharing for flow management, flight planning, and trajectory management associated with ATM operational components. Given multiple states of global SWIM modernization and implementation of FFIs, the conference should endorse a transition plan as part of the GAMP. Given the varied levels of TBO and enabler implementation, as well as increasing air traffic volumes, it is vital that ICAO develop a global concept that establishes rules for information sharing and security, the required performance levels and capabilities, and a transition plan utilizing the GAMP and the ASBU language to ease integration into state and regional planning. As part of this, states will need to work closely with their planning and implementation regional groups and regional aviation safety groups to integrate current modernization work with regional transition plans to TBO, SWIM, and FFIs. The global concept must be holistically strategic to integrate multiple regional systems into a harmonized global framework for seamless operation across all borders. In conclusion, the United States invites the Assembly to consider the following actions. The Assembly is invited to, first, endorse the global trajectory-based operations concept and the updated module and key enablers, such as SWIM and FFIs, in the revised Global Air Navigation Plan and Aviation System Block upgrades. Second, urge states to work with planning and implementation regional groups and regional aviation safety groups to integrate current modernization work with the regional transition plans to TBO, SWIM, and FFIs. And third, request ICAO and member states to work with industry to consider current and future work in TBO, SWIM, and FFIs that utilize performance-based global frameworks in the areas of information management and sharing, strategic planning, tactical separation and situation awareness, and security to ensure complementary frameworks. On behalf of the United States, we welcome the opportunity for collaboration amongst ICAO, member states, and industry to integrate current modernization work with regional transition plans for TBO, SWIM, and FFIs. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Now invite Eurocontrol to present working paper 38.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to present this paper on behalf of the 44 ECAC states, the European Union, and Eurocontrol. This paper provides overall support to the trajectory-based operations concept developed through the ATM Requirements and Performance Panel. The TBO concept details the GATMOC, the Global ATM Operational Concept, outlining the important paradigm change for ATM. In line with the No Country Left Behind policy, we find it important to recall that TBO has the potential to bring performance improvements for all operational environments, irrespective of traffic density. The systematic inclusion of TBO in the GAMP is therefore fully supported. TBO will bring performance benefit through the synchronization and enhancement of decision-making processes and collaborative decision-making. However, this will only be possible with the appropriate levels of automation and addressing the role of the human, which should therefore be included in the further development of TBO. Today, there is a clear distinction between flight planning, which takes place during pre-departure, and flight execution. TBO will enable continuation of flight planning during the execution phase, taking optimum account of downstream optimization opportunities supported by the exchange of flight data in and between relevant ground and airborne systems. This will at the same time increase the need for a global collaborative air traffic flow management approach. This should therefore also be included as an integral part in the further TBO developments. The implementation of TBO takes place in a performance-driven, step-by-step manner and is taking account of mixed-mode operations. The foundation for TBO is established through implementation of flight and flow information for a collaborative environment, or in short FFIs, and through SWIM. Rich information and information sharing are key enablers for TBO. Since a number of years, Europe has been making use of information services for, among others, network management operations, and has also an implementation project for FFIs. These experiences, together with experiences in other parts of the world, should be used to facilitate and expedite global, interoperable, and SWIM-based implementations of FFIs. Finally, the concept of TBO with FFIs supported by SWIM will also serve accommodation or integration of new types of operations through high levels of automation. TBO is therefore the common denominator between all the traffic management regimes, including ATM. For the recommendations, I refer to section 3.2. I would like to stress in particular the need for increased levels of automation and collaborative decision-making enabling TBO, the need to address the human dimension and change management processes, and the need for global interoperable TBO taking into account regional developments. TBO is the future for global ATM, for which the transition has already started. Dear colleagues, Mr. Chair, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Eurocontrol. I invite Brazil to present working paper 87.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Again, on behalf of Brazil, the ASEA, as the main ATS authority in Brazil, has been implementing many projects to achieve the vision of GATMOC. And in relation to TBO, will not be different. I mean, the ASEA is going to be the same in the right time, in the right moment. However, in relation to TBO, the ASEA has some observation and concerns. The first one is the need of mixed mode operation, considering what we have today and what we can achieve with the implementation of the TBO concept in the future. In other words, a mixed mode environment should likely last for a significant period of time, considering that it is expected that TBO should be deployed in gradual steps. The second one, we see that ICAO needs to address the number of issues highlighted and described in the work paper 7, prior to beginning the development of necessary SARPs, procedures, and guidance material. And, if possible, ICAO should describe the key difference among ATM service delivery management, flight flow information collaborative environment, SWIM, flight object, and TBO for ATM community in order to provide a clear understanding of the whole. Finally, as a broad concept which comprises a lot of different concepts, TBO should be performed in a safe environment to guarantee that all players have the same accurate safety information and where no interference exists from internal or external parties that can put at risk the safety or efficiency of operations. In this context, for full realization implementation of the TBO concept, attention should be given to possible cyber threats to the extending of information during TBO operation. Having said that, the conference, this meeting, all of you is invited to agree to the recommendation in paragraph 3.3 of this working paper. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Brazil. We now have working paper 271 by Singapore and Thailand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Working paper 271 will be presented by Singapore and Thailand to describe how implementation of several ASBU modules have shown to be building blocks for trajectory-based operations, as well as to support the recommendation in Working Paper 7 to finalize the TBO concept in alignment with the ASBU framework. The ICAO Global Air Navigation Plan is a strategic document that guides the efforts of the aviation community towards the operationalization of the GETMOC. A key requirement of the future ATM system is to consider the trajectory of an aircraft during all phases of flight. Despite the introduction of time-based metering concepts, it remains challenging for air traffic control to manage trajectories efficiently due to a short look-ahead time, calling for the need to share and consider the flights and related operational information of all other flights, such as MET and aerodrome constraints as well. When such an information-rich environment is realized, the limits of tactical control will be lessened. Today, air navigation service providers are turning to more proactive measures to manage traffic flows. This is done through concepts such as extended arrival management and air traffic flow management. Over time, it is envisaged that TBO will bridge and further integrate ATFM and ATC operations. However, current knowledge and understanding of TBO is not prevalent, and it is timely to describe the concept better in terms of ongoing initiatives as ANSPs embark on their respective modernization programs. A common notion is that airspace is a scarce resource and should be better organized to accommodate growing traffic demands. However, by conducting CDM with reference to the entire trajectory of a flight, a different paradigm to operations has evolved to enhance capacity and efficiency of air traffic operations. This can be seen in both airport CDM and ATFM. In Singapore and Thailand, the synergy between airport CDM and ATFM has become clear, and interconnected networks of airport CDM and ATFM units will enable key stakeholders to exchange useful departure and arrival information to improve operational predictability as well as pre-tactical planning decisions. In the post-departure phase of TBO, a collaborative and exploratory work on long-range ATFM seeks to widen the ATFM horizon and coverage to long-haul flights that improve demand capacity balancing capabilities, as well as improve distribution of delays across long-haul operations. And with your permission, Mr. Chair, Singapore would like to pass the time to Thailand to continue the presentation of this paper.
Thank you, Singapore, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Underpinning the TBO is the flight and flow information for a collaborative environment that will enable the dynamic real-time information sharing required for effective decision-making among all related stakeholders. Today, states have started exchanging ATFM-related data using Flight Information Exchange Model or FIXMs and the technical subgroup of the Distributed Multinodal ATFM Network project is working on a regional FIXM extension to identify and include necessary data attributes for regional operations. The technical subgroup aims to enable ATFM information exchange using SWIM-based technology and further harmonize interoperability requirements with other ATFM groups. In addition, the member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, also known as ASEAN, along with other partners in the Asia-Pacific region, have jointly embarked on a SWIM in ASEAN demonstration project. This will showcase the operational benefits of enhanced trajectory sharing across borders, smoother airport CDM operations, efficient distribution and management of ATFM data, and possible applications in support of flexible use of airspace, achieved by using the SWIM-based information exchange. This demonstration target for 2019 will showcase a possible model for SWIM implementation in the Asia-Pacific region as well. As ATM operations begin to realize the TBO concept, future modernization of ground-ground SWIM and air-ground SWIM is needed to enhance information sharing and exchange. ICAO has provided high-level direction that has led to developments in CNS and ATM technologies, which should be understood as enablers for TBO. However, more can be done to raise awareness of TBO and encourage the implementation of ASBU elements, especially by developing a transition roadmap. Singapore and Thailand would like to invite the conference to act upon the recommendations in the executive summary. Thank you.
Thank you, Singapore and Thailand. And the final working paper is to be presented by China, working paper 191.
谢谢主席。
I thank you, Mr. Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to present WP 191 on behalf of the Chinese delegation to describe the ongoing effort for the ITBO validation and trials in China. In ASBU, ITBO is to be implemented in Block 1, and full TBO will be implemented in Block 3. The Civil Aviation Administration of China has paid great attention to introduce new concepts and emerging technologies to improve air traffic operation. In line with China's Civil Aviation ATM modernization, CAMS, and guided by the ATM RPP panel, China has established the TPO task force in October 2017. So the key work that this task force has been doing recently is the ITBO flight trials and validation. Similar to the I4D concept of CESA, China's ITBO flight trial aims at validating major elements such as air-ground EPP for trajectory synchronization based on ATN, digital control, and on-time arrival. Up to now, all prototypes have been developed and tested, and the flight simulation has been done in lab environment. The real ITBO flight trial and validation is planned for March 2019 using Airbus A320 along the test route from Tianjin Airport to Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport. The ITBO ATC automation system and ATN data link networks and other testing systems will be deployed along the route. So in conclusion, the conference is invited to note A, the information contained in the paper, B, consider to suggest ICAO to further clarify the global ITBO concept and to define the corresponding required capabilities of ATC automation system. C, consider to suggest the states or regions to investigate the existing capabilities and make a cost-benefit analysis. D, consider to suggest ANSPs to provide policy guidance and operational support and provide aircraft with ITBO capability with higher level air traffic service where possible. That ends my briefing on WP 191. Thank you.
Thank you, China. Those were the 6 working papers presented on this sub-item. There are no information papers. After the presentation of papers, we would normally take the clarification from the Secretariat. I'm proposing that we take that tomorrow morning at the start of the discussions with the papers, as it would remind us where we are. So with that, I would like to adjourn today's proceedings. I want to thank the committee again for a very good day of discussions. I want to thank you for the excellent presentations and interventions, for respecting the time, both in terms of the presentations as well as coming back after the breaks. We have, and then sponsored by TALUS.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, TALUS for tonight.
Yeah. Then the Sky Talkers.
It's Sky Talk.
It's by Ariel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a Sky Talk at 17:30 to 1800, which should be by Arian, and our reception is sponsored by TALUS at 1800. So enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.